Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lebanon Board of Park Commissioners. I'd like to call the meeting to order and let the record show that all members are present except Jessica Lawler. If everyone's had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from the July 12th meeting, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes from the July meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Okay, under old business this evening, we have Deb Schmucker, Pond Overlooks, and Abner Longley Master Plan.
Good evening. Let me reconnect here. On a good day when I can see everything. Let's see if that does it. He may have to flip the switch here. Let's see if there we go. Magic. There we go. So I told John I just wanted to kind of come and give you an update. We've been working, looking at where a walking path could go, as well as getting the disc golf course back online and laid out. So John and I had met out in the field a couple of times and had worked on a variety of layouts, and then we got a little bit of input from another gentleman, I believe Alex, from one of the disc golf groups. In this particular case, what we did was we were cognizant of the fact that we had some of the, and I think the next slide shows it a little better. We were trying to keep everything really on what we're calling the southern half of the Abner Longley, in part because of the wetlands, and then there's some other things that are all going on the north end on Conservation Pond. So as we worked with the 18 holes, some of those will look really similar to former locations of holes, but this gets an 18-hole disc golf in. Still some tweaking probably to do to the layout, but we revised some of the initial layouts based on trying to also get a walking path in. So that became, trying to balance those two and not having them on top of each other. So just to give you a feel on the walking path from a mileage perspective, so this perimeter loop, and there's the cursor. So this outer loop that's on the, kind of goes around the south and to the west around over to the Big Four, that's just under 3/4 of a mile. And then obviously if you connect to the Big Four, which is the red line, and then this is the drive area that's been upgraded down through here that goes over to the remote control car area. This section here is about another 1/4 of a mile. And if I go backwards one page, this loop, which is part of the road section that goes around, it's the old road pathway. When you connect that, that's about another 1/4 of a mile. So all of a sudden you start to gather a couple different ways you could do loops that would get you a mile, which is what everybody's always kind of aiming for when you're a walker, or at least 1/4 mile, so you kind of know your own internal loops. So I wanted to give you an update on that, and I know John is going to talk to a couple of other disc golf aficionados in the area who play the course, et cetera, and get a little bit more input from them, so that potentially by this fall, when he's got some volunteers coming online later on this fall, we could use them as a way to get the baskets back out and get the disc golf course back up and running. So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was just an update, and I'm going to go back again. So you can kind of see up here, this green area here. Well, that is the overlook area, which is the area where John's been clearing out part of the berm and cleaning up some of the dead trees and a lot of the various work that's been going on over there in the Conservation Pond area. So this is a rough site plan. So part of what we were trying to do is also create an accessible path and parking that would not only be accessible to the Big Four, but also create something over to the overlook, and also provide some more shelters, because rental shelters are such a big deal and there's not enough at the parks, and there's nothing on this end of the park. So we started to create a nice little nook area. So you can see there's a pathway, that's the Big Four that's running diagonal there, a shelter, and you'll get to see a little bit more on the shelter. So the shelter is a little more architectural in nature, with some stone columns that fit 7 picnic tables, as well as You can see in the background over here, there's some benches around the perimeter, some grills on this side, there's a bike rack over here. And this is the area where the berm used to be, and there's still half of the berm there. It's still not totally gone yet. So that half of the berm, let me find my cursor again here, where'd it go? Is about right here, where the path would go. So just to give you kind of a frame of reference from what's there today and what's going to be there. And then this is actually kind of a picture looking back from the pond, and you know how it is when you give your graphic people permission, so they decided to do it at sunrise, because that's looking to the east, because it lightened it up enough that you could start to see, and the overlook is right here, and this is the railing. And that's a fairly steep section. There's several catalpa trees, which are the Kentucky coffee bean that have the long, but there's a group of trees there that we had already discussed probably needed to come out, and that's about the right location that you could eventually have this fountain on this side of the pond and a fountain on the other. That would also help with some of the algae and keep it, but the views are really, John and I were standing out there earlier, we've stood in a lot of different spots, and that's, and if there's anything, John looked at me and he goes, I think I'd like to make the shelter bigger, so we may even check into that, but that big open area that you're starting to see is really opening up the sight lines into the pond, and I think it'll become a real gathering spot as it comes to fruition. So I just kind of wanted to bring you up to date and see if you had any questions or comments related to the walking path or to the disc golf or even the overlook.
Is there still a fishing pier going in somewhere?
No, that's it.
That,
The word fishing pier was what they eventually were trying to describe as an overlook.
okay.
So, in part because you've already got fishing going on the other side of the
Right.
pond, and because it's so close to the Big Four Trail, we don't want somebody casting and doing one of these numbers, so.
Catch them in the ear.
Catch them in the ear, catch somebody on a bike, it could be disastrous no matter how you slice it. And we also, John and I talked a lot about, if you remember the master plan that was done, I don't know, that was a long time ago now, but the other master plan that we did, we'd always talked about some kind of outdoor education area and classroom, and even bigger picture, there was a hope someday maybe of even a nature center, but at least this starts to get you a place that people can gather. It's
Right.
rentable, you could do it for outdoor classrooms, weddings, a family barbecue, and it's easily expandable in that area as well, so you could add on to it and create another area. It's a really beautiful view, and it's close to the parking, and we know how people don't like to be too far from parking, so.
I like that.
It reminds me of a spot at Lily Lake in Eagle Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that, and I've seen weddings take place there.
This one would be a small wedding, but
Yeah.
we'd have to bring some more folding chairs probably, but.
Yeah. I don't know much about disc golf. I remember the disc golf being at
Yeah.
Abner Longley. But it looks like you have some of the holes, for lack of a better word, in that tree area. Is
Yep,
that works for disc golf?
oh, yeah,
Is it? Okay.
yep. And in fact, if you don't have some in the trees, then they don't feel like they have enough obstacles, so.
Okay, that's part of the
Yeah,
fun of it all.
it's kind of, I'm on the other side of Indianapolis, and I'm not far from Som Golf Course and Som Park, and we were all laughing that it used to be there were a couple holes that were much simpler, and now they've gone in, and in a good way, they've planted tons of trees, and now 10 years later, they're finally, and we're all laughing about how much harder those holes just became. But they lost a lot of trees from lots of different things, aging more than anything, so.
Sure, the trees make it more interesting than the game itself.
Yeah, and it provides shade and its interest,
Sure.
and I think that's the power of this particular one. It's out in the, there's some holes that would be out in the open, and then you find some wooded areas, you kind of come in and out. It also allows you to see all of the park, and there's different parking areas, so the nice part about that is you don't have to start 1, 2, 3, and 4. You could start down at 9, 10, 11, and that's always something that's good to keep people moving on the golf course as well, so, or I should say on the disc golf. I don't want anybody to think we're putting a golf course in, so.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. My pleasure.
Next on the agenda under old business is Kevin Krulig, Stone Eater Bike Park update.
Thank you very much. Not a whole lot has changed since last month, but updates since then. We've really finished hauling in all the excess dirt that was donated by the New Cold Corporation, although we understand there's an additional donation that they may be making, but as of a couple of hours ago, talking with their project manager, it probably won't be till spring till they would be interested in hauling more dirt to us. So we'll keep that as a potential open item, but not necessarily sure we'll be able to accommodate that. We will see. All compaction and density testing was met all the specifications, and our consultants are putting those reports together to file with IDEM. And speaking of that, as of Friday the 21st, we now have all of our IDEM approvals in place and are ready to move forward. We are wrapping up our dry detention pond excavations and our stormwater installations this week. We'd hoped to be finished last week, but the rains last week kind of put a real hold on that. So we're getting started tomorrow and should wrap that up by the end of the week. And we're also then reviewing our RFP for the construction manager, and hopefully we'll have that out on the street for contractors and construction managers to start responding to in the next 30 to 6 weeks, I suppose. And only one other item, we got a visit from the executive director of Bicycle Indiana last week. She just wanted to check out the progress on the site and update some of her followers. We are featured in their 2023 Bicycle Indiana resource guide, and so they're just trying to keep their users posted on the development of the park. That's all I really have.
Congratulations on your IDEM approval.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was,
Been there for a while.
yeah, we started, first meeting with them was in early 2020, so it's been a little while, so.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
And keep beating the dead horse on this one. Every time you bring up who's coming in to view it, who's coming in to see it, it's never people from here. Has there been any push or any discussion about getting this community engaged in the bike park? Because as of yet, I just haven't seen anything about, it's always been talk about other communities, other people, the Bikers magazine. I don't think anybody here much outside of, maybe you and your group might get that magazine. What are we doing spending our money to encourage our community, the existing living Lebanon community, to be engaged in this bike park?
Sure. It's a valid question. I don't know that I'd say we've done a whole lot at this point. There was a lot of public meetings and workshops in the very early on in the process that we had a lot of local engagement on. And we're putting a lot out there on social media about this, but we haven't really come up with ways to interact with the community on site, just because I think it's because it's partly been a construction zone. It just isn't safe at this point. But I'm open to whatever options or thoughts, ideas that this group might have or the parks staff might have on how to better engage the public. Are you thinking just from a public input into the final design and construction, or just to get people more excited?
I think it goes along with, you described it not as, quote, a BMX jumping up and down, going
Sure.
over ramps, but a much more mild. And I don't think that's been the image that's been put out, nor the image that's believed on it. And that would be one thing, that our town is we're not BMX. We're not that.
No, I agree
But
with
we
that.
absolutely are walkers, we absolutely are joggers, we absolutely are family-oriented.
Absolutely.
Areas. So I think if we're going to message anything in this town, we should message it to the community that exists here, not outside community coming in. And if they like that atmosphere, they will come. If they don't, my concern is not about what people want to come here, it's about what we like here. And if they like that also, by all means, come along.
Okay. Yeah, we can work on that.
Several
Definitely.
years ago, remember we had that group, the bike and pedestrian group that was kind of getting going on.
The Active Living Committee.
That was it. I was on that, and I remember one of the examples that kind of ties into what you're talking about is Derek Warren was one of the lead people on that at the time, and he became a certified I'm not gonna say the right term, but like bike safety person.
Yeah, I don't know the terminology either, but
And the
yeah.
idea was to have us basically give some bike safety lessons to kids. And so that, if we're going to encourage people to be on bikes and use the community for walking on trails and all that, why not promote it in a
Yeah.
bike safety mode too? I'm not saying it needs to be Derek Warren doing something like what Brett's talking about. I'm just saying it was kind of with that spirit.
I think by all means, let's volunteer Derek to get involved here.
I know you guys spar back and forth in a fun way.
No, actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. This maybe goes along the same lines of what Brett was asking about. Is I had lunch last week with a gentleman from the health department. So the health department has money they want to spend on community engagement programs, I guess I would call it. I don't know if that's the term they would use. But they reached out to me because of my involvement with the bike park and also with some of those connections that the city has had. And so they wanted to do what he called a bicycle rodeo, like a kids family-oriented bicycle rodeo. And so we got to talking about all the ideas that could bring from, certainly that would be something that, we have this bicycle pedal parade that happens with the 4th of July festivities every year. And until this year, it was actually ran by the city. I think this is the first year it was handed off to a private nonprofit. The Sylvia Center ran that this year. And so we've been working with the health department to figure out how we can partner now, and we haven't even had a next meeting, but what I suggested to the health department was that let's have a meeting with the people working on the bike park, with the Sylvia Center, with the Friends of the Boone County Trails. We could also loop in the National Interscholastic Cycling Association and some of these other, notably outside Lebanon, sources that are promoting the park. Some of the local bike shops in Whitestown and Indianapolis that are promoting the park, the local bicycle sports programs at Marian University, and see how we can make the bicycle pedal parade and this idea of a bicycle rodeo where he wants to give riding lessons and give away free helmets and bike tune-ups and things like that for kids. How can we make that even bigger? How can we work with the pedal parade and this idea of a bicycle rodeo to really engage the community and get them more involved? So I didn't even think about that because it just happened last week, but that's something that we will be working on. It's probably something that I think we agreed from a health department perspective is that after understanding what is happening, they don't necessarily want to create a new event. We'd just like to see how we can take the bicycle pedal parade and make it even bigger next year, and which would not be till roughly a year from now, but we have time to start planning for that.
Well, and back when I was serving on that, and I was also on some committee that was working with Witham Hospital, and we were trying to promote wellness with our children and all that.
Yeah.
They were talking about how communities are rated for various things like, do you promote wellness and healthy living lifestyle
Sure.
kind of thing? And part of that is reflected by your offering of trails and amenities within your community. So to me, that's a really natural tie-in.
Yeah.
It isn't just about having fun, it's also about activities,
Yeah.
and things that promote people getting off devices maybe and
Yeah.
moving.
We really had some good conversations with them almost probably over a year ago about getting more involved in the bike park, and they had even pledged some donations. When they had a change in leadership, I think they rolled back and started reevaluating all their programs, and they've kind of walked away from some of those earlier commitments. But it's never a bad time to re-engage them and see if now is a better time. And I think it's also important to note that we're probably going to have some other healthcare providers coming to town in the near future, and so maybe if it's not with them and their healthy living professionals, maybe it's community hospitals or some of those other partners that are like coming to the field house and things of that nature. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah, we've been searching for we've wanted a healthcare partner on the project since the beginning. We thought it was with them. We were kind of saddened to see them step back a little bit, but we're seeing them come at some community programs in some different ways now, so maybe that's a good time to re-engage them and see if they'd be interested.
It might be a good time too to revisit the whole notion about the cross-country course possibility.
Absolutely.
I know Shelley West would be interested in talking about that further.
Yeah.
To see, is it really a possibility or is it not, so they can kind of be
Right.
planning.
We met with Shelley West and the athletic director, Phil Levine, and the athletic director for the middle school, and the other cross-country coaches probably 2 years ago, and threw out that idea. So it's definitely something that we want to include in the park, this idea of the cross-country running courses and having this be a venue for Lebanon High School, as well as we didn't have as robust of a conversation with Western Boone, but I spoke with a couple of school board members who were very interested and said they would be very interested in having another site, another venue for Western Boone students to run on as well, and that possibly with the ability for parking and access at that location, that it might be someplace where Western Boone and Lebanon can start holding sectionals and even regional competitions that currently we don't have the capacity to hold, so.
We have a very successful cross-country team, but we don't have much capacity for home
Yeah.
events because.
I
of
think
our
we only have one home event a
and
year at the high school level
That's dangerous
because,
stuff,
yeah.
all the roads and stuff, parking.
So definitely, I think WeBo is better set on their course, given where they're at, but Lebanon High School needs some real help. I know they had some events at Admiral Longley Park last year, or was that more middle school? Yeah. Yeah, so, I think that's a great venue as well, and whether there's practice venues and competition venues and multiple venues, I think those are great conversations to have with the school corporation, so. It's a lot of kids in those cross-country running programs, so. Very good. Anything else?
I think that we had a lot of local people at the beginning when you were throwing all these ideas and things out, and then so much has happened between then, the COVID.
Yeah.
Everything that we have kind of lost touch maybe with the local base, but now that it's ramping up, I would
Yeah.
say, knock on wood, that.
It's
So-
a good point, and yeah, it's a good point, and I think maybe we need to think about what other events that we could start promoting this, whether that's things like farmers market or other events in the park. That could be something that we could easily start engaging people in those conversations with the simple, let's set up a table and have a map and hand out more information and talk to people about it and see what kind of interest there is. Definitely we can do that. I'll work with John and the mayor's office and trying to see how we get involved with some of those community events.
Sounds good.
We need to remember to educate people on the history of the name too.
Yes, we
I
do.
think that's of interest,
Yeah. We've been working even at a federal level trying to get more research done. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of good sources on the history of the chief. We've got about a 3-page document from the University of Miami of Ohio. Miami, Ohio is kind of the repository for a lot of Native American artifacts and history, so that's our best source right now, but we're also working with the William Harrison Museum in Corydon. They are looking through their files because we know Stone Eater was a translator and a confidant of President Harrison, the first President Harrison. So we're hoping they might turn up some more information too. But yes, sharing that with the public, educating the public is going to be key. We'll keep going.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hey, John, is there any new business to come before the board?
No, there's not.
Okay, so we'll go ahead with the director's report.
Okay, just talking on Diane about the active living, I was part of that too, and I think we've done a lot with the sidewalks and some of the handicap accessibility on the corners, and Derek Warren is instrumental on a lot of that. But I remember we even took walks throughout the city on some of the walks and kind of rated them and figured out which ones to go, and I agree with you. That's a good program. Still going, but doesn't have the energy that it did when we first started, I don't think. But
But
a lot of it was from the high
accomplished since
school.
then.
Oh,
Yes.
boy, have we,
A
yeah.
lot
And
has
it
happened.
started from the high school out, I think, is what they're doing. And you've seen so many improvements in this bike pedestrian trail that we have going through the Big Fourth all through town. But I think that's a good note. Getting started, there again, that boy with the disc golf course is Alex Mark Hoffman, and he's helped us out with that, had some ideas. He had us going over the pond with some disc golf, and there's some wetlands and things like that, so we kind of arranged it a little differently working with Deb. So anyway, I want to give him a shout out because he's helped us out quite a bit too. And he will walk the course and help us out with some of the location. Along with Shirley, I think you have some recommendations there too with some disc golf players. Memorial Park, the baseball field, there again, these are a lot of maintenance things that we've done. Warning track sprayed and weeded, freezers and refrigerators in the press box in the concession stand area serviced, unplugged and taken care of for the winter. Building conditions addressed. Rhino Shield will be out to paint. We have an 8-year contract with them. If it peels, they come out and repaint it for free, which we've already contacted them and we're waiting on them to come out. And it seems like every year that Rhino Shield's coming out to paint it, which we were doing in the past. At least they're on the hook for 8 to 10 years now on that. Security cameras, a couple cameras were adjusted. The dog park server board got hit by lightning in the storm that we had the other day. It was down for a day. Luckily, it was just one of the boards out of the 3 motherboards, about a $400 fix, but that was good that we got that up and going within a day. I appreciate Security Pro's attention to that. Discussion of security for Stone Eater Bike Park. Kevin and I, excuse me, haven't had the time to actually sit down. We've kind of just top dressed it a little bit, but we have to have closure on the gates and things like that and security cameras. Obviously, there's going to be lighting out there, but we've started those discussions, or I have, with Security Pro. Got some feedback on some numbers on what it would take to have security cameras out there and something to identify the locking and the closing, opening of the gates out there, because we will need some type of security out there. The grounds, there again, shelters and restrooms, power washed and clean. 3 trees removed, excuse me, storm damage cleaned up. We had a storm come through again Friday on over all these storms. Had no idea till talk with Billy Saturday morning. He was out there, I think, him and another gentleman for Bobby Pearl, I think, for 6 hours cleaning up the trail. I think there were several trees down there, but got the big branches. I think we lost 1 tree or a couple down at Southside also, or Abner Longley. But I'm over these storms. We are over these storms. We did the final cleanup when came in Monday, but they got the big stuff out of the way so nobody get hurt. Excuse me. Excuse me. There again, we started a project. We've been always having trouble with drainage in all our parks. The monies that they want for this is just outrageous. It is what it is. I'm sure they're worth every penny, but to save money and to kind of get it on our own, we borrowed the street department's mini excavator and started it ourselves last couple of days, starting with one of the drains that's on our trail where there's a lot of water at Memorial Park. Guys did an outstanding job. It's pretty hard work getting down in a ditch and running 100 feet or 50 yards or so. 250 feet, there you go. Drainage, gas lines, electric lines, everything that we have to do. But I just want to say did an outstanding job finishing that up probably tomorrow. But something that I think will save quite a bit of money, have less than $1,000 in it. And I think this was several thousand that the contractors wanted to do. It's something that, there again, our skill set's pretty great at the Parks Department. Outstanding work, though, from the guys. The playground, we, of course, inspect it. Minor repairs. fitness equipment removed, repaired, and installed. Those fitness equipment that we got that are right at the start of the playground coming from the Seashore Water Park get used. There's several adults out there every morning at 7 o'clock. I have 5 at least that are on all that equipment, and one of them broke. There again, took it. The maintenance staff repaired it. It's already installed, and they didn't miss but a day of workout on that piece of equipment. It is getting older, and we'll probably have to look in replacement here in the near future. Of course, we always have to remove the graffiti. Restroom, the partitions that I discussed last meeting, they've been ordered, and that's for the playground bathroom. The newer one that we have down by baseball is fine, but going to replace those partitions, and I think it'll look much nicer. And a couple toilets repaired that is just general maintenance. Abner Longley Park, there again, before I go on to that, Memorial Park, Brett, I want to say your mother has been helping us out with weeding the flower beds. She's done this for a couple years. Just does an outstanding job. If you've looked at our beds, I think you'd like your own beds to look as well as ours do. The weeds are just not there. Of course, the guys are watering them and fertilizing and doing those things, but Brett's mother has helped out quite a bit. She's helped out in a little bit of the design work too, but she's a master gardener, and really, we had a good talk this morning. We have a lot of invasive species out on the Big Four Trail. The hemlock, the Japanese barberry, we were just having discussions there. Her suggestions, we'll probably work on that. We've done that at Abner Longley, and we'll probably do the same thing. Can't get it done overnight, but we are trying to remove some of those invasive species and putting natural, cone flowers and things that are also pollinators to help out there and smother out those other, poison hemlock and the things that we have. We're very aware of what's going on out there. It's 8 miles. It's going to take some time and probably some money too, but she was very helpful. I just want to, if you'll give her a shout out too, I really appreciate her help. We're also going to work at Uland Country Club, that entrance over there, and rip out some bushes, and she's going to help out with some design work on that. There again, free volunteerism, and I can't appreciate it enough, all the help there. Abner Longley Park, 4 trees removed, brush and limbs cleaned up again from these silly storms. Pond treatment, had another pond treatment. That's about every 2 weeks that we have them in all our ponds. One fountain is being repaired. There again, that was ripped out with some of the excavating that we have, and that's out to get repaired. It should be back soon. There again, waiting on parts for that. Splash pad power washed, as we do once a month. If it needs more, we'll do it. Shelters and restrooms power washed. Partitions also ordered for the restroom at Abner Longley. There again, I think it'll help them out. They're, 15 years old, so it's about time to replace those. Stump removal and grading at the conservation pond, as Deb was talking about earlier. Doing quite a bit of work down there, and we have a few more trees to take out in this observation area, and also taking out this big hill that we have, and doing a lot of good work down there. Again, the maintenance crew and John George and his company helping us out with some of the grading work. Can't thank them enough. Stump removal, taking all those stumps out and some great big tree trunks. Lebanon Youth Football, their repairs to the building have been completed. They completed them themselves and inspected by our superintendent, Billy Smith. Painting will be done soon. That's the last thing on the list to be taken care of down there. Reese Park, the lift station work is still in progress. I had contractor remove the container. This work that I had a meeting with the contractor and the engineers down there, this work, they still are waiting for some easement right-of-way issues that they're working with homeowners in another division or a subdivision, and they don't have those. It's going to be a while. They're talking about possibly March of being done, this hill out there. I said, you need to get the container going and clean up that area. We have weeds that are waist high over near the creek bank, rocks, things that we don't want to maintain, that they've kind of taken that area over. So they are going to clean it up. The container was removed yesterday. There again, I will stay after them to make sure that that is all taken care of. Not sure what the holdup is, other than they're trying to make acquisitions or whatever for easements for that lift station. Those haven't been accomplished yet. They have got a couple approvals from homeowners, but they are working on that. Once that gets completed, then they can go and finish up their work. But as of last week, the conversation was that it will be there till March of next year. There again, then they'll level it out, seed it, and a little disappointing. That's gone on a year longer than what we anticipated, but they are doing their best. We did install a water line, thanks to the help of the utilities. There again, we have a water line going to that shelter. The hot pond fountain repaired and installed. There again, that was just an older fountain that had some issues. We got it fixed and put back in. Again, that has been treated also. Again, brush and sticks, and also there's a dead tree on the property that is scheduled for removal, and that is through Duke Energy. That is something they're going to take care of, and I'm very happy they're doing it. It's a big birch tree that's just sitting down there that they are going to take care of due to the interference of their line. Ruth Berkshire Arboretum, the canopy, we've raised the canopy, brush and sticks cleaned up, one tree removed, Big Four Trail in downtown. Main Street repairs are underway. They should be done within the next week. What there was is there was a trip hazard up there. I guess someone had fallen, and we were alerted to that, so we have to repair when we have those things. We looked at several different options, one of them grinding it out and caulking. What was chosen to do is rip the concrete out and pin it into the other concrete. There again, they're down there now. You've seen the cones, I'm sure, and some of the renovation that's being done. Again, we're doing our best to get that resolved pretty quick. Several trees removed from storm damage, again, on the Big Four Trail. That seems to be every time we get a lot of big winds, and there's nothing we can do to be ahead of the game on that. They're old trees that are way back off. They fall down, we come and clean them up. Ballards are ordered to deter the motorized vehicles. We're going to place them at East Street, and then again near the conservation pond, and another one over by the dog park. Hate to do it, but they aren't, there again, there's a lot of vehicles that are being driven. I don't know if you've gotten the phone calls. I've got many, many. And we don't like the automobiles being on there any more than anybody else, or motorized vehicles. Signage isn't working. We put rocks up, so now we're going to go to the Ballards like we do have on Patterson Street and on Ralston. And that's the only thing. We'll try it. Hopefully, if they don't go around them or what have you, but we're doing our best. It has been addressed, and those should be installed within next week. Hopefully, we have quite a few projects going on. We've trimmed the trees downtown. We try and keep up on that, and along the Big Four Trail down Main Street and down Northeast. Routine trash pickup, weeding, pulling, and watering. That watering, golly, can't wait. We've lost some of our summer help. We still have one going, and he's helping us out quite a bit, and that always takes a full time. It's about a 6-hour job to do all the watering that we have, but our flowers downtown and throughout the park look outstanding, so we got to keep the water up until they're about ready to go. Gene Haas, we've pulled weeds out there, and obviously we mow it on a regular basis and keep up on the irrigation, and then we do a pond treatment in that detention pond. That also will have some striping done when they do the street department. They're about ready to move into that. Asphalt's being put down if it isn't already done, and I think the contractor is going to, I went ahead and had him go ahead and do the striping of the parking lot at Gene Haas Building also. Might as well, two birds, one stone while he's out, got a cheaper price. Programs and events, our July swim lessons are now complete. We have really enjoyed the round of lessons and hope the kiddos and families have as well. Look forward to next year. Serve Day, put on by Freedom Church, was held in Memorial Park on July 22nd. Weather was beautiful, and guests were able to enjoy Seashore Water Park for free backpacks, school supplies, lunch, job fair, clothes, and shoe drive, and more. They did that in Memorial Park and also over in Thorntown, and it was very successful. I know they had over 1,000 backpacks prepared. It's a wonderful event put on by our community, and we look forward to it every year. I just appreciate them so much. There's a lot of volunteers that were out there. Excuse me. The last weekend for Seashore Water Park will be, the weekday for Seashore Water Park will be this Wednesday, which is today. It's closed during the weekday now until next year. August 2nd. We will continue to be open Saturdays and Sundays until our last day of the season, August 27th. Our mother-son pool party will be held on Friday, August 11th. The event will be at Seashore Water Park and will be held from 5:30 to 8. Cost is $20 per couple and $5 per additional child. It includes swimming, dinner, and other fun activities. Hope to see everybody there. Our Fall Pickleball League is now open for registration. Games will be played on Thursday evenings. Cost is $30 per team. It's a doubles league, and teams can be all male, all female, co-ed. To register, visit our website or give us our office a call. August 12th will be Boone County Cancer Society's annual Battle of the Barbecue. It will be from 5 to 7. Wristbands are $10, and there will be music, food, and a silent auction, 50/50, and lots of other fun stuff. Again, all that money from the Cancer Society stays right here in Boone County. Can't say enough about this group. They've been doing it for 15, 16 years now. Appreciate Kathy, Joy, and Aaron's help on all that. They're really easy to work with, and I hope everybody can get out and we have a beautiful day that day. The morning of the Battle of the Barbecue, You're Not Alone will be hosting the 5K walk as they have the past couple of years in Memorial Park. Be sure to contact them to register and receive a t-shirt. Our 2023 Daddy-Daughter Dance is now open for registration as well. This will be held on Saturday, August 26th from 6 to 8:30 at Seashore Water Park Pool Deck. The cost is $20 per couple and $5 per additional child. This year's theme is mermaid, and we will have 2 real-life mermaids that will be on site. Tickets can be purchased ahead of time, online, or by giving our office a call. They will also be sold at the door. We can't wait to see everybody. And we also have Oktoberfest that is August 19th. That's held downtown. So we have a lot of different events coming up in the park and downtown. Look forward to it. There again, we also, the mayor and Derek Warren and I met. We're having the street department, as you know, is going to be moving into their new facility from Lafayette Avenue over to the business park. Met with the engineers on that are doing the Brownsfield study. It's a grant that we have that does an environmental on that property. They've already done phase 1. They'll start phase 2 soon. They also, with that grant, are going to do a master plan. And so in the next year, it'll probably run here. We'll have a kickoff meeting to get the public's input, park board, and there again, other staff members and things, their ideas, and stakeholders in the groups to find out what we want in that area at Lafayette Avenue. There again, had a real nice meeting with the engineers. Very confident they can do the job. Really, phase 1 went pretty well. They've really not a lot of feedback on that as anything bad that's going to be there. But the plan, it'll probably, it'll be a year or so before we actually have a plan in place for that property. But that will be part of the parks property that we have. It was a nice meeting to talk with them and see where they are with the project. Also met with Allison, who's with Economic Development. There again, we talked about a solar eclipse that's coming up April 8th of next year. It's huge. Schools are out, and there was a meeting tonight at the library that obviously I couldn't attend tonight, but we are going to have another meeting where groups are getting together and looking at places we can locate to have them look and be ready for this total or solar eclipse. As far as that, I guess it's a pretty big deal. That's why the schools are all closing down. I guess Kentucky had it a few years back, and they were overwhelmed with all the people that came in. We have a lot of different sites. I think the bike park might be one of them that we look at, Abner Longley, but I'll keep you updated on that and where we are with that. But anticipating all kinds of people coming into our community. I was surprised to hear from Allison that all the, she's with CVB. I said Economic Development. She's with CVB. Anyway, all the hotels are booked around the community for that date. That blows my mind. I said, well, get hotels. She said they're booked. So we should be prepared for quite a crowd coming in, is what I hear. And that's my report. If you have any questions or concerns.
I have some questions.
Sure.
It's really just follow up again, what I followed up earlier on. So I've been here long enough I really look for opinions on this one and what we think. Checked the website, heard the decisions made, and everything I see, everything I hear, everything done is more concerned about property value than person value. So we've made a lot of decisions around here, Lilly, IED coming in, taking up all the land, all the stuff we do, Stone Eater Bike Park. It's all concerned with raising property value. But the same issue I have with Stone Eater Bike Park, not focusing on the community that actually lives here, and the majority comes with a lot of decisions I see being made around here. So when making your decisions, what's your primary priority? Is it the property value that we live in or the person living in the property?
Oh, it's the community, the people that live here, just like myself and my family. That's my first priority, is to make sure that everybody has a nice, safe place and parks and different amenities that try and attract people to get out and use our park system. That's what my goal's always been, and hopefully everybody's. Is that what you're talking about? I'm kind of confused with that.
Right.
As far as property values and all that, there again, that's out of my control. I mean, LEAP came in and it is what it is, and IEDC.
I realize
so
LEAP is out of your control, out of all of our controls, and apparently
Yeah.
out of even the mayor and everybody else's control that came in and bought everything.
Yeah. However, I do have the Eli Lilly has come forward, and on September, they're going to bring 70 people out and help us in our park system, do some projects, and I'm lining those out. It was nice that they reached out to me, and we're trying to get enough work for 70 volunteers to come out and work in the park system.
Right. My
Yeah.
concern is the direction the parks might go when all that comes in. Because it seems like we're doing a lot of decision-making outside, because we don't make the decisions on any of these things. We make the decisions when we have requests on direction. So I come from middle class, solidly middle class, and of an age group that matches the majority of the age group of this town. So I sit right in the middle of it. When I hear my property value go up, I don't think I've increased anything. I've lost something. Because all it means my property taxes are going up next year. I have to put more money out of my pocket, and when I move from this house, I move sideways, I don't move up. That's all that means to me. To a house that's probably less than I have right now for the same value of what my house is right now.
Okay.
So when we talk about things like the amenities we add to the parks and all these things, I just have to make sure that if I'm gonna be here, I'm always going to be pushing for what's practical for the community that lives here. And the middle class doesn't necessarily want clean. We don't need expensive. We don't need high-end. We don't need high class. We don't need wonderful buildings, because at the end of the day, when we start loading those things in, we can't afford it. Because all that means is the value that raises around here. So when I ask questions like, are we more interested in the people that we want to move here or the people that actually live here?
Oh, whoever's in our community, I hope we're addressing all those needs that are, we have open public hearings for our community, and hopefully with these meetings that we'll have on future parks and the like, we'll get their input and go forward with that. And that's what we're about. I mean, yeah, your questions are pretty deep as far as I'm concerned, but yeah, I'm a lifelong resident, and I'm middle class also, I get you. And I hope we're addressing not only the needs of them, but all classes of people. And hopefully they get to come out and enjoy our amenities. And I think as a park board, we're looking at that, just like you're involved deeply, and you guys, you and several of you are helping out with the soccer programs, helping our youth out and keeping costs down. Same thing with the youth football. Those are very important and critical parts. As we grow, we probably ought to start looking into lacrosse and different things, getting more ground. I think that's really important that we look forward to that. And yeah, hopefully these businesses and such will help us out with some of the properties and communicate that with them. But I think you're right. We need to start looking into growing our park system. And yeah, that's a pretty deep question as far as I'm concerned. Hopefully we're all on the same board, that we're looking for a community, and we have the public open hearings that people can give their input and voice their opinions, such as your own. And there again, I hope I've addressed that. Did that help you
You've
out?
answered the question. More action than anything else. I want to make sure that the direction, or at least that's what I'm going to
A
be
statement,
pushing for,
okay, all right.
is making sure that the direction, the decisions that are made by you, by the people of the community. We talk about these meetings, we see how many people attend them.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest reason is because I'm fortunate that, well, I'm not fortunate. I don't have kids. The only thing that makes it fortunate that I have the time.
Yeah.
Because of that, to be able to come out here and be part of this board, but they don't. So the vast majority of the community right now are sitting down with their kids, having dinner, or taking their kids to some sort of team event, or taking them to an after-school program, or working with them on their homework.
We hope so, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So when
Yeah,
we
there
talk
we go.
about
That's
this-
what we're after,
When
right?
we talk about community engagement, one of the things I do when I'm outside of here is I talk to everybody. I mean, everybody. So it really does seem like the impression that's being had by the majority of the people that make up the majority of this town is that they don't want to live in Whitestown. They don't want to live in Carmel. They don't want to live in somewhere that they raise the average income of the area by cutting out the bottom half. And when they see the changes coming in, when they see the stuff made, we see a lot of stuff being done in certain areas, but, in my area, they paved the street, but they've done nothing else.
Yeah.
So when we see those things, we want to know that the community's invested. I get that I can walk over to the park and I
No,
absolutely.
but
use the
I
park.
could go back too. We've
Right.
made investments in these pond and the purchase of the Conservation Club for free fishing. And making those amenities good. We're looking at disc golf, which is a free amenity to come. All-inclusive playground, free to children of any group that you want to group them. We keep our costs down at the Seashore Water Park as low as we can. We're not in it to make money, but we do like to break even rather than lose money how we were 20 years ago. So I think that's our vision, or what have you, I guess, if you'd be saying, and I'm with you. Your youth programs, I think they all need to be as cheap as they can. I think we've done a pretty good job of it. I think, and there's also groups out there that will help for less privileged individuals to join these groups. But yeah, I think all our parks should be around that. We have biking trails, all this, big investments in the community to go forward for free activities, basically. And they're utilized. Our parks are full all the time. I think we've done a good job of that. If we aren't addressing something, then yeah, by all means, I say speak up, and we need to go forward with whatever we are doing good.
That active living group I was talking about earlier, I can remember one of the things we discussed was that people who want to have an active lifestyle were having to go elsewhere in other communities because we didn't have a whole lot here. We had Memorial Park, and we had, some things, but nothing like we now have.
Right.
So I think that's, part of it. We want the people that are here to stay here too. We want, You know,
Yes.
I wish my own children had stayed here, but they've gone and live in other communities now, you know, because of work opportunities and stuff. But we hope that we're creating amenities that want people to
And
raise their families.
with, I think Deb Schmucker's done a great job. I mean, because we really hadn't done any 5-year master planning until she came on board 12 years ago or so, or eight years ago possibly. And with those, we have community outputs. And again, empty rooms or very, very few people, unfortunately, but we've done the survey. We've tried to make plenty of opportunities for input, and we have gotten better. A lot of it, even with our pool before we built it, that was all community driven and input. Lori, we were out at every event that there was possible. We had our maps out and, hey, what would you like? Had fish bowls, had, hey, put your comments in there. And hopefully we can keep doing that. But like you said, if those people aren't getting out and communicating, I sat down with kids at the pool today, teenagers, what would you like to see? I always hear teenagers don't have anything to do. I got to disagree with them. However, in their eyes, maybe they don't. What would you like to see? Your wildest dreams. And all 4 of them just stared at me. And they're probably 15, 16, 17. And I said, what would you like to see? A bigger wave pool. Okay, probably not going to get that, but keep going, okay. And then I told them about the opportunities to reach out. And some of the public hearings are open public hearings that we're going to have and meetings. And I want their input. And they said, okay. And how about a ninja course? How about a skate park? How about things like that? What would you like to see? We're getting ready to put a new park in within the year. What would you like to see? And I think that, and we're reaching out. We have a group at the school that's the honor people. I don't know what the mayor's council, I don't know what it's called now, but there's a group of them that volunteered to be on this group, and we're getting their input. So I think we try and do the best we can to reach out to all individuals, and I hope we do, because that's what I'm after. I think we all are, is trying to accomplish something that's good for everybody. And that's my 2 cents, if that helps you. But I hear what I understand what you're saying.
Clearly, our community is growing.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious. So are you included in those conversations about potential, like the vision for 5, 10, 15 years down the road with parks in mind?
To a degree, yes, we are. There again, nobody knew LEAP was coming. We were caught
It's
off.
still early too in some ways.
Yeah, it still is. And you know, those are things that we couldn't plan. The bike park, that was an opportunity that Kevin saw where it's ground unused. Past administration had tried to use it for soccer fields, and we're told by IDEM no. Well, we finally got approval from this to go forward with the bike park. We were looking at soccer fields from there was the group of the sod farm right across the street that were willing to donate and put it in, and we tried to go forward. It was knocked down, and that's what we did. Well, this was, obviously, Kevin's done a very good job of going forward, and they've kind of loosened their restrictions on reuses of landfills and things like that since it was 15 years ago. So, yeah, I think we need more ground. I think that's what we need to, and it's all in the master plan that we're going forward with that. And I think those were outlined, and that could be outdated. That's a guideline, but that could be outdated in 3 years. I mean.
Well, you have to revisit it for.
It is, you have to keep revisiting, and you don't always go, and we haven't done it. We've stayed pretty steady over the last 8 years that we have a master plan, but sometimes you veer off a little bit because an opportunity knocks and we can go forward with that. Boy, if we could get ground, somebody wants to donate a couple 100 acres, we would love it. We'd jump all over that, such as we've had in the past. Most of the park's grounds are donated to us, so purchasing is kind of hard throughout the city. We had opportunity to buy Moore Memorial Park way back before they put Pizza Hut and all that in there. That was an opportunity that one administration many years back could have purchased for $30,000 or something, or that's the number I heard. The park board and the administration said, no, we aren't going to do that. And we would love to have that ground right now. I mean, I think everybody would. So those, yes, we are looking, I guess, in the long, yes, we are looking at the community at hand. That's what, when I make decisions, or any of us, I hope we're looking at what we have on hand.
My concern comes, and I watched the last board meeting, like city council meeting or zoning board, where Lily came in and said their spiel, and magically that land just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as to what IDEM is going out there and basically taking from people. It was when the Lilly person stood up there and local businesses were talking about different things, and he stood up there and he said, well, Lily's gonna want the stuff around them to be just as good as their stuff. That means they feel like they have a say in things. So like sending out people to volunteer. So my concern would be them ever having a say in what the parks do, because Lilly does or does not like something, because we have a multi-billion-dollar company on our back door, that we have a 2.7% unemployment rate. People here are not going to be working at Lilly.
Yeah,
It's
we
gonna
have
be
we have our standards, and that's what we kind of stay on track with, our standards of what we want, brick and mortar, certain looks, that we're staying. You go to a park system and you know it's a park, you know where the restroom, you know the color code, you know all that. So we are staying within those parameters. But as far as any grandiose thing, I don't see that. Some of the color charts that she showed you today on the conservation pond overlook, those aren't the actual colors either. Those are just renderings of what will probably go. You'll see further and further as we go into the weeds a little bit more. Now, those are just trying to get your approval and okay and blessing to move forward with the project. Okay,
Thank you, John.
you got it.
Okay, if everybody's had an opportunity to look at the claims, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
So moved. I'll second them.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. If there's nothing else to come before the board this evening, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.